From the Fans Talk Podcast family at fanstalkpodcast.com, this is episode 28 of Fans Talk TNA. This week we're going to cover the May 1st, 2015 episode of Impact Wrestling on Destination America, as well as the rest of the news and notes that happened this week. My name is Garvin, and with us this week to talk some TNA is Nick. Say hello, Nick.
Hey there.
All right, so if you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, you can find us at fanstalktna.com. There's a full archive, all of our subscription links, ways to talk with us, and even a way that you can support us. Fans Talk TNA is a podcast series that is brought to you exclusively by our friends who have stepped up and pledged a few dollars our way on Patreon. Again, all that stuff is over on fanstalktna.com. Some shout-outs before we start. Shout-outs to everyone who left comments, likes, and hearts this week on YouTube, Facebook, and Google+. Special thanks to Craig Walsh, Rain Lazy 92, Clover Cold 89, Ray Stapleton, and Prophet Misfit 09 for continuing the conversation. Also, you guys have really stepped up over the last couple of weeks. We did finally get over the 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. So hopefully that'll continue. We'll continue to grow. So, yeah, let's do that again this week. All right. So let's talk about what happened on this week's Impact Wrestling. This week was Hardcore Justice. So pretty much hardcore style rules on just about every match. And we got the debut of Al Snow on commentary with Josh Matthews. Nick, overall, just looking at this show as a whole, did you like it?
I did. There were a lot of fun moments. There were a couple of, well, there was at least one good reveal, and it wasn't in any of the hardcore matches, but we'll get to that soon enough. But overall, yeah, very enjoyable show.
Yeah, I was looking at just my memory of how the last few weeks have gone for me, and I've been really low on Impact as of late. Nothing's been as entertaining as I was hoping for. A lot of disappointments last week with just how they handled the Night of Knockouts. But this week's felt entirely different, and I don't know if it's because it was a better product or if it's just because I changed up my schedule a bit. You know, Nick and I, we record this Saturday morning, Saturday early afternoon. So we're freshly watching Impact that morning and then coming here. For the last few weeks at least, I've just been like waking up, having breakfast and going to watch Impact and then record. So there was no real time to wake up before digesting wrestling. This week, it's the first weekend of May. So lots of yard work and stuff happened in the morning. I'm energized watching Impact and eating it up. To me, this was a much better show overall. But again, I can't say for sure if it's the product or just my mood overall. But I think it was the product. So let's go into it. There's a few stories that were continued this week. So let's start off with Revolution and their participation in the tag team division, as well as the Storm versus Magnus bit. Again, we saw the Revolution lose in a tag team match. That wasn't necessarily unexpected. Storm came down, kind of berated them. And yeah, I don't know. There really isn't much more to say about that part of things. But what really got me this week was just that they pushed the Magnus versus James Storm feud into the forefront. Like I was expecting this to hold off for a few more weeks while we, find out what's going on between James Storm and Mickie James. But this week it was like, here's them interacting at a grocery store, Mickie James Storm, and then all of a sudden Magnus is ready to call him out on it. So do you think that they're going too fast on this, or are you okay with them jumping right into this feud now?
I think it's progressing fairly well, and in fact, surprisingly so. I was right there with you. I was expecting a slow burn, just like they've done with a lot of the Revolution stuff. But yeah, just jumping right into it is pretty refreshing change of pace for me.
Yeah. Overall, we got where I think, generally speaking, where we were expecting them to go, which was Magnus obviously seeing this as as Storm trying to drive a wedge between Mickie James and Magnus. James Storm pushing the trust issue. Like, obviously Magnus doesn't trust Mickie James. he's trying to suggest that he doesn't trust James Storm, but obviously maybe there's something else going on. So James Storm definitely playing some mind games on whether or not, the issue really is James Storm or if the issue is really Mickie James and her quote unquote past with James Storm. So yeah, I think I'm really intrigued by the direction that this is going. But only time will tell. James Storm starting a storyline seemingly is much better than James Storm continuing and ending a storyline, it seems.
Yeah, that's been the pattern for the last few years, really. At least since his feud with Bobby Roode. Like, that fizzled out into nothing. He hasn't really had a major storyline since then until now. And yeah, if they have conclusion in mind with the Revolution, they're definitely hiding it well.
Yeah. All right, so we also got some continuation of the BDC versus the Rising, and that did extend into the X Division title race. This week we got Mandrews versus Tigre Uno versus Kenny King versus Rockstar Spud in a ladder match for the X Division title. This match saw Homicide interfere, allowing Kenny King to win, basically taking another title home to the BDC. So let's start with that. Just not necessarily the BDC side of it, but just the idea that we finally got an X Division match. We finally got an X Division title match. Realistically, Rockstar Spud's first major defense. What was your thoughts on it?
I'm disappointed that Spud didn't end up holding the belt longer, but I think this makes sense given that Spud is an underdog. I don't know if he's necessarily better chasing the belt than holding it, but again, we never really got the chance to see how well he could hold it.
Well, and we really never got to see him chase it either.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. So as far as how the match went, first of all, the match was great. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every second of it, especially the fact that I think this is, maybe outside of Explosion, this is Mandrew's first real match of any length.
Yep.
So, I mean, that was great to see. It's great to see Tigre Uno back in action. Kenny King in the X Division. Oh my God. And yeah, him being X Division champ should be good moving forward. I think Davey Richards will be the first serious contender to go back after it once Spud gets his obligatory rematch. And Davey Richards versus Kenny King just makes more sense to me than Davey versus Spud.
Yeah, I can definitely see that direction. But I'm in agreement with you. Mandrews, fantastic. I had my doubts just because what we had seen from him was very minimal, very comedic, and at times like non-impactful. But this match across the board, loved it. Mandrews, was great. Tigre Uno was great. We really haven't even seen, a lot of positive stuff from him since he's come to TNA, just because it was like, I think he debuted right around the same time that Sonata debuted, and it was, all Sonata. So, but yeah, I'm glad we got to see some more Tigre Uno. Kenny King, obviously awesome. Rockstar Spud is the odd man out though. I think he showed some good stuff, but they were really playing up the injury to his ribs. So because of that, he wasn't really doing a whole lot. So yeah. I don't know if that's, if that was a way for them to hide his inability to really show that he can wrestle well, because we still haven't really seen it. There's always been something that has stood in our way of really watching Rockstar Spud wrestle. And it's either a story or a set of interferences or now this. So, yeah, I really don't know how to take Spud as X Division title, or as the X Division champion, or as a challenger for it.
Yeah. Even on the indies, the matches I've seen of him, he never really was focused on ring work so much as character storytelling. He's been a comedy character for a long, long time. And I've seen he can wrestle when the occasion's called for it. But yeah, he's much more of a Colt Cabana kind of guy. He can, but usually he's making the other guy look good.
Right. So I don't know. We'll see. Rockstar Spud did have a really great, segment backstage after this match. Him listing the names of people that he stood in line with. AJ Styles, Jerry Lynn, so on and so forth, about people that have held the X Division championship, those are the names that went down in history. Those are the names that were the best of the best in this industry. And he was a part of that for a brief moment. So he made it very clear that that's where he wanted to be again. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully we do get to see him actually wrestle at some point. But right now, out of this division, he's the last man on my list, I think. So, but yeah, Kenny King got the title, took it home to BDC. But BDC was not done for the night. We also got to see the pipe on a pole match between Drew Galloway and Loki. Are you at all disappointed that we really didn't see the pipe involved in this match whatsoever?
Kinda, yeah. I don't, it was a good match without the stipulation, but if you're gonna have that gimmick, at least use the gimmick a little bit.
Yeah, it was more of a distraction than anything. Like they kept trying to get it, never could. Or it finally fell into the ring and they picked it up to use it, but then that was like the downfall of them. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not necessarily disappointed that it didn't get used. It just seemed, unnecessarily, a portion of this match. Just because it didn't really add that tension that I think they were going for. But that's not to take away from this match. Like you said, this was a very good match. Both of these two guys are very good. And, overall, like, I am digging the back and forth, between these two stables. At least the ring work. The ring work is solid by pretty much everyone involved. You mentioned about Kenny King in the X Division. Who else would challenge Kenny King for that title? I'd almost want to look at, you've got Micah. Micah might be a good choice for the X Division. He's not as bulky as, what is his name? Eli Drake?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think Eli Drake fits the X Division mold, but I could definitely see Micah potentially.
Potentially, yeah. Certainly if Tama Tonga's work is anything to judge by, I don't really know if those two are terribly similar, because when Micah was in WWE, he played very much the power guy.
Right. But he was also the bigger of the two.
Yeah. And that absolutely made sense in the role he was in. It's just I haven't really seen a whole lot of other stuff out of Micah. Like, even in that singles match he had, it was more of him getting beat up.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah, it's just hard to tell.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, if you're going to put another big name in there, especially a face, Davey is a good pick. But if they're going to continue this BDC versus the Rising, I would almost try to find another guy to fit in the Rising. I mean, because it is a 4-on-3. They are going to need another person to jump in. Maybe that is Davey Richards, but I'm almost feeling like there's going to be another name added to here soon.
Actually, after the way Spud lost the belt, I was kind of expecting him to even out the numbers when it came to the BDC Rising brawl after the match.
Yeah,
and
he does fit. He's got the story. I mean, he's got the background of being attacked by both Loki and Kenny King.
Yeah, he's really the only one that I can think of that has that beef with the BDC right now that's not also involved with something else.
Yeah, no, I definitely do like that. All right, let's move on from that. Talk about the Knockouts title race. We got some more Dollhouse video video packages. Very cool stuff, I thought. Because they tied it in with footage of last week with the Dollhouse taking out Kong. That led to the Taryn Terrell versus Brooke championship match, and then the following segment. So overall, knowing that we have these three members as the Dollhouse as your main heel team in the Knockouts division, do you like where this is going?
I do. I think they're handling it pretty well. It answered a lot of the questions that we had about Taryn, whether she could beat Kong. Turns out she can, even if it's with help. And I think this is a necessary evolution for Taryn's character. I think she's playing it very well. As far as the Dollhouse goes, I think they're doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah. Overall, This fits Taryn a lot better than that cheerful face. I think I'm much more interested in what she's doing here. And don't get me wrong, her battles with Gail Kim I thought were fantastic in and of themselves. But as far as character wise, I think this fits her much better and will lead to more matches with Gail Kim, more matches with the Kong, more matches with the rest of the roster. So I think this is a great move because we really haven't seen a solid character in the Knockouts division in a while. At least I think.
Yeah, you're right. As great as Taryn was before, she was kind of bland as a character. So yeah, anything to get richer characters, better stories out of the division is great by me.
But after this match, we saw Taryn Terrell take the mic, brag that with the Dollhouse, no one can beat her. That led out Gail Kim. Gail Kim, basically not necessarily challenging Taryn, but just saying like, this isn't the way you needed to go. Just, you're not living in my shadow. You're not living in anyone's shadow. You are the champion. You didn't require the Dollhouse's help to stay there. So, kind of like your, I mean, it was a basic baby face pep talk kind of thing that Taryn just kind of threw back in her face. But what was interesting with this is that, Taryn's like, there's three of us, there's only one of you. But that's not the case because Gail Kim has Awesome Kong on her team. Are you surprised that they are toying with the idea of making Awesome Kong a face?
That was surprising, and it was, pardon the pun, but it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
Just the idea of these two, like Josh Matthews said, these two arch rivals banding together against the heels in TNA. Yeah, it was an awesome visual. I'm expecting great things from this to come.
Do you think this leads into a speaking role for Kong?
I imagine it will because, yeah, she never really talked before in her first run. She had the mouthpiece and all, but she's already talked some in video.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that we saw that she can talk from her time in the WWE, but yeah, she's spoken before. I don't see why she wouldn't now.
There was only one time that she spoke in WWE as far as in my memory, and that was when she retired.
Yeah, that's the only time I can think of.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. But yeah, the Knockouts title race, I think is really good right now. And it was during this match that Josh Matthews and Al Snow, basically were pushing up the idea that, they are listening to the fans. The fans wanted more out of the Knockouts. They wanted more out of the X division. And this is their way of giving that to the fans. And to me, I mean, I would love to have more X division. I would love to have a deeper roster for the Knockouts. But I think looking at today and this week, by themselves, I think this is a good step forward for both of those divisions.
Agreed. My only caveat for this going forward is I know they're building up for that Gail versus Taryn match. I hope that Awesome Kong settles up with the Dollhouse before that happens because I want no interference. I just want Gail versus Taryn.
Yeah. Most likely it's going to happen soon. Slammiversary is coming up. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but we've got Slammiversary coming up in June. They have announced the match for next week's live show. But yeah, it's not going to be the singles match, but yeah, we definitely need that other singles match. And this is a good way to build towards that. But let's go into the World Heavyweight title race. We've got two main stories right now. The first being Anderson versus EC3. We got, a continuation of that, but it was more of the, jokey segment type thing. So EC3, obviously last week, awesome segment about his campaign to be the, soon to be or next TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Anderson countered that this week, not with a, no, you're not going to be champion because I'm going to be champion, but it was more or less that his campaign is he wants to beat the streak. So overall, do you like the idea of Anderson being the one to beat the streak? And not only that, them pushing that idea harder than the idea of Anderson maybe going into the actual physical title race.
I like the idea that they're well, they've been addressing the streak for a long time, but I like the idea that they're finally addressing the idea of it being broken. I don't want Anderson to be the one to do it. But I am happy that he's not necessarily lobbying for his own title shot. So that's something.
Yeah, to me, this is an okay scenario as long as what happens is EC3 wins and it can move on.
Yeah, and hopefully that it will be without shenanigans.
Yeah, it's just I don't want Anderson in the title race. I'm fine with Anderson being the slight derailment of EC3 going straight after the title, like a distraction, just because we're getting some really good stuff with EY and Angle, and I want to see that continue without EC3 getting involved. I think EC3 needs that isolation for a proper story for the title. So, and him going through Anderson, I would definitely do that. Him basically, see, this is the thing, because before it was EC3 showing that he can defeat the higher ups, those veterans, those legends. So now this is potentially going to prove that EC3 is legit, and it wasn't just fluke wins. It wasn't just this gimmick. It was EC3 can hang and can be consistent. So I definitely like this if it is doing what I think it's doing, which is legitimizing EC3's participation in the world title race.
Yeah, as lukewarm as we are on Anderson as a whole, on paper he is a former world champion. So yeah, on paper it will do a lot to legitimize EC3. It's almost like being in a feud with The Miz. Yeah, it's very similar to that. Just you don't know how he's done it, but he's been to the top of the mountain at least once. So yeah, on paper he can do a lot to build people up.
Yeah. All right, so EY versus Angle, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I could have sworn when we went into this show, it was supposed to be EY versus Angle for the title. Do you remember that?
That does sound familiar.
Because I don't understand why we would have this match if the title wasn't on the line, at least going into the show. But that's what I remember.
Maybe they decided to hold it off for the live show.
Yeah, but that's not what we got. Instead, EY comes out and basically says he rolls out a stretcher and he says, tonight isn't about the title. Tonight is about continuing the havoc that he is causing those who have stood in his way of getting the title. So he took out Rude and put Rude on a stretcher. Same thing with Aries. Same thing with Lashley. And tonight he's going to do the same thing against Angle. And he did. EY put Angle on a stretcher. It was a stretcher match. All he had to do was put him on the stretcher and then strap him down. And that was the end of the match. Took 2 straight pile drivers to take Angle out. But yeah, Angle got defeated by EY. Maybe that's leading to a EY versus Angle match at this upcoming week's Impact, just because it's a live show, but they really haven't announced that yet. But overall, thoughts?
Yeah, very solid match. I enjoyed it through and through. They've really got to do something better than what they're doing to keep Angle closed up, because it seems like every time he takes a bump, he gets busted open again. I know these were back-to-back shows, but yeah, it's just every match he's in, he gets busted open.
Yeah, it's always the same spot. I mean, it's just some kind of scar on the back of his head, basically. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Again, I'm on ImpactWrestling.com right now, looking at possible matches for next week, possible matches for Slammiversary, and really nothing's been announced for Slammiversary. I can't imagine they would hold off EY versus Angle until Slammiversary. I mean,
no, me neither.
It's 2 months away, basically. Yeah, because it's June 28th. So yeah, today is the 2nd of May. So yeah, we've got 2 months before that. So I can't imagine they're going to hold it off till then. But only time will tell.
Do you think we might be getting EC3 versus Angle by then?
2 months? Yeah. Because at this point, EC3's got to get through Anderson. I think he can definitely do that. Not necessarily this upcoming week, but just because I think it's going to require at least 2 matches. But I could see EC3 moving on to face Angle or to face EY for that matter at Slammiversary. I think that would totally work. Yeah. So overall, I like EY. I like what he's doing. I'm kind of disappointed that this wasn't a title match, but I guess I can wait. I mean, if that's my only complaint, I guess I can wait another week or 2 or whatever. But okay, Al Snow on commentary. What did you think? How did he do?
There were a few things that I liked. For instance, I can't remember the last time I've heard an English announcer talk about a tope or a plancha.
Yeah.
So that was good as far as I'm concerned. I don't know that I really want him on commentary, though. I don't think he really does that good a job with Josh. Like the little in between segments where they go back and forth at each other, like let's go arm wrestle, come at me, bro. Like those are entertaining, but as far as calling matches went, I don't think they've got the chemistry.
Yeah, okay. So there's a few things. First, I did like that this week they didn't call the match in that small studio. Instead, they both stood at the big studio and called it from there. So you had them calling the match from the main studio, the one where Josh Matthews does all of his YouTube stuff, as well as they had the in-between match segments there as well. So because, before it would be Taz and Matthews or just Matthews in the small studio for the matches, and then they would come out to the big studio for the in-between stuff. It was always kind of awkward just because it was weird timing, But this, I thought it was a much better setup, much more realistic setup that they're doing everything all at once, which is pretty cool to see. I'm okay with Al Snow on commentary, but I was a little disappointed with the fact that he was ultimately your play-by-play guy. Like, I thought Al Snow was going to be your color guy. Josh Matthews was going to continue being your play-by-play guy. But it was the opposite. It was just really weird because if you look at what Josh and Taz did, Taz was always your color guy. He would call a few spots, but for the most part, it was always color. And this time, it was just the opposite. It distracted me a bit because I wasn't expecting Al Snow to carry a majority of the show, and he did.
Yeah, I feel like that's down to inexperience in that role. I think he just got caught up and just started taking over, and Josh kind of let him run with it because this man is a psychopath. But it just felt like another part of the lack of chemistry.
Yeah,
just Al Snow going into business for himself.
Yeah, with time, I think Al Snow will creep back a bit. He doesn't need to be that heavy on the show. He doesn't need to be talking all that, like the entire episode. So I think, yeah, you're right. That'll take some time just to gain the experience, gain the comfortableness of, working directly with Josh. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, overall, I don't know. I just wasn't expecting so much from Al Snow. I thought he would slowly get into the role, but this was like Al Snow took over.
Yeah.
But the good thing though is that he didn't really bring a character in. He dropped the gravelly voice. He dropped the need to choose a side. It wasn't him putting himself over. It was just him talking too much.
Yeah.
So, all right, Nick, your win of the week.
My win is Abyss is apparently being cut loose from the Revolution. It's not official, but given that Storm told him you have failed me one too many times, the exact language that he used to talk about Sonata, I'm hopeful that that's the case because Abyss has never fit in with his faction and he hasn't done much to build it up.
So I didn't read into it like that, but I do like the idea of Abyss getting cut from the Revolution. Realistically, I think if they cut Abyss and just focused in on Koya and Manic, I think that can be a bit more successful.
Yeah, that'd be very solid. That's Manic and Koya would make a great tag team, and James Storm, if he ever decided to do so, could focus on a world title run.
Right.
Once he's done screwing over various people like Magnus and Mickey James.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. My win of the week is just going to go to the X Division match again. I thought it was fantastic. Fails. What was your fail of the week?
I got to give it to the pipe on a pole match. Again, great match by itself, but I think it could have done much better with another gimmick like a street fight. The pipe just distracted things.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was really expecting that to play more into it. But you don't want, on the other hand, you don't want the major payoff to happen at this point in the feud, especially if you're expecting the feud to continue. So, yeah, we just didn't need a pipe on a pole match. That's the end of it. We just didn't need that label. My fail is gonna go, I really don't have a fail. Again, I thought this was a solid week. Let's carry this into final thoughts. I thought this was a solid week overall. One thing we didn't really talk about was Brooke and her match with Taryn. I thought she did a great job. She completely surprised me. It just was solid all around. So yeah, everything that happened tonight, I was really good on. And, I know we get criticized at times for being TNA apologists or whatever other label that we want to be placed on. But, for me, I definitely go into this not with, last week sucked, so this week I'm going to have really low expectations, or, this week I'm going in thinking this is going to suck because that's what TNA does. I know so many other podcasters do that. So many people on Twitter do that. That's just not how I want to go about it. So yeah, I was going in this with a fresh mind. It's not that I didn't have any expectations, but what they did this week was they didn't really provide you with any expectations other than this is hardcore justice. So you're going to have some hardcore rules match. And outside of that, I was, I don't know, but I went in this with a fresh mind, and I thought they did a great job. So, I can't really compare it to other weeks, but yeah, I wish more people would do that. Just react to the show that we're watching, not on the general negative attitude towards Impact.
Yeah, judge the content on its own merits, nothing else.
All right. Next week, we are going to get a live special on Destination America. It is May 8th, and it's going to be live, I think they're starting at regular time, so 9:00. I'm going to try to watch live. I know I haven't done that for many months just because Friday night doesn't necessarily work for me. We record Fans Talk Lucha on Friday night, so I'll see what I can do, but I definitely want to get in on the live Twitter feed if possible. So we'll see. We have a new Fans Talk TNA champion. I just realized it. Kurt Angle lost a match to EY. EY is your Fans Talk TNA champion.
You are correct, sir.
All right. I'm writing that in right now. We'll have that for next week. Just because it'd be interesting to see where this goes. But yeah, EY is now your Fans Talk TNA champion. I'm happy about that. That's fine by me.
Yeah, with the match he had, I have no complaints whatsoever.
So we had Bobby Roode, as your champion on January 7th. That changed to Bobby Lashley on the Impact premiere on Destination America. That was January 9th. Kurt Angle won it on an Impact Wrestling on March 20th, and now EY is your Fans Talk TNA champion. So I'm glad that we finally got outside of the the track that TNA has been going, because there really hasn't been any non-title matches with the champion losing this whole time. So yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, we're finally out of lockstep with TNA. Team Beard has its own champion now.
All right. But yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for joining the conversation once again. If you're listening on YouTube, you can continue that conversation in the comments section. The same thing if you're on fanstalktna.com. If you're listening on demand through a podcast player or SoundCloud, you can reach out to us on Google+, Twitter, Facebook, even on Instagram. Head on over to fanstalktna.com for all of those links. And there you can also find the full archive as well as ways to support us by pledging at least $1 a month on Patreon. Again, fanstalktna.com for all of that. And if you listen to a service that allows you to leave a rating and review, please do so. That is really helpful for us. All right, for Nick, this is Garvin. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.